A genius teenager put on trial for a crime he didn't commit until he turned the courtroom into his classroom. Gabriel Sanchez never really fit the mold of a typical teenager. While other boys his age spent their afternoons glued to video games or scrolling through social media, he was in a completely different place, buried in textbooks, solving equations that left even his teachers scratching their heads. He lived in Tucson, Arizona, in a quiet, working-class neighborhood where everyone knew each other. His mother, Elena, worked long shifts as a nurse, and his father, Miguel, drove trucks across the country, which meant Gabriel spent most of his time alone. But that was okay. He had his books, his online courses, and his dream of becoming an aerospace engineer. His mind worked differently, seeing patterns where others saw chaos, breaking down complex problems like a machine built for one thing: solve. Gabriel was not just intelligent, he was exceptional. He was the kind of kid that professors invited to conferences, the kind of student that college recruiters fought over. At just 17 years old, he had full scholarship offers from Meet Stanford and Georgetown, but he still hadn't made his decision. He was still weighing his options, figuring out which program would push him harder. He wasn't looking for the easy way out. He wanted greatness. Despite his intellect, he remained humble. He never boasted about his talent, never flaunted his success. Instead, he used his gifts to help others. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, after finishing his own tasks, he would head to the Anita Neighborhood Public Library, where he tutored college students in calculus, physics, and programming. Some of these students were 5 or 6 years older than him, but they listened to him as if he were their professor. On this particular night, Gabriel had just finished a tutoring session that ran a bit long. His last student, a struggling engineering student named Javier, had indeed been on the verge of dropping out of his program. But after a 2-hour immersion in fluid dynamics, Gabriel saw a change. Javier left with a look of determination that he hadn't arrived with. It was moments like these that made Gabriel feel proud, not only of his intelligence, but of what he could do with it. As he gathered his things and stepped out onto the dimly lit streets, he had no idea that tonight would change everything. But just as he turned onto the main street, the sound of screeching tires cut through the silence. Gabriel barely had time to process the sound before the red and blue lights flashed behind him. A patrol car approached quickly, stopping just a few meters away. His heart didn't race. His breath didn't catch. Not yet. This wasn't the first time. He had seen police in the area. He continued walking with his hands in his pockets, the backpack slung over one shoulder. Then came the sharp, authoritative voice. "Hey, you! The one in the hoodie, stop right there!" Gabriel turned, blinking against the bright headlights. A white officer stepped out of the car, the weight of authority pressing down on every movement. His badge shone under the streetlights. Daily Ripple. Gabriel stopped, his mind already running through possible scenarios. He wasn't doing anything wrong. His ID was in his pocket. His work schedule was in his bag. He even had tutoring notes with Javier's name on them. He remained calm, respectful. "Something's happening, officer?" Ripley didn't respond. He sized him, up as if he were studying a suspect, not a kid walking home. "Where are you coming from?" "From the library. I give tutoring sessions there." Ripley tilted his head skeptically. "At this hour, it's only 9:30. Ripley took a step closer. His partner, a younger police officer than Gabriel, whom he hadn't noticed before, stayed by the car. His expression was not aggressive, just silent, watching. "You match the description of a suspect in a robbery from tonight." There was the trap. Gabriel knew the game. He had seen it happen before to friends, to neighbors, vague descriptions, unfounded accusations, a cop looking for an easy arrest. But he wasn't going to fall for it. "I don't know anything about a robbery," Gabriel said. "Can you verify my identification?" "I was in the library." He moved slowly, reaching for his pocket. "Don't move." Ripple's voice exploded through the street. Gabriel froze, both hands in The air. Now he could feel his pulse in his throat. The younger police officer shifted uncomfortably, but didn't say a word. Ripple reached for his radio. "I got him, man. Latino, gray hoodie, backpack. I take him inside." Gabriel's stomach sank. "Take me inside." "Why?" His voice was firm, but frustration seeped through. "I just told him where I was." "You can call the library. You can check the security cameras." Ripple ignored him. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Gabriel took a step back, not resisting, just stunned that this was happening. "Sir, I didn't do anything." Ripley grabbed him. The sudden tug almost threw him off balance before he could say another word. The cold metal closed around his wrists. Tight, unyielding. Gabriel inhaled deeply. He could feel people watching from the windows, see the glow of a phone screen recording from a porch across the street, but none of that mattered now because no matter how smart he was, no matter how innocent he was going to jail tonight. But what Ripley didn't know was that this wouldn't just be another easy arrest. No. This time, the ride to the Pima County Justice Center was silent. Gabriel sat in the back seat, handcuffed, his brain moving faster than his emotions. He knew that panic wouldn't help. I had to think. Ripley said he matched the description of a suspect. That was a lie. There was no way they had a real suspect if they arrested him without even asking a question. And if they had evidence, they would have presented it by now. So, what was the plan? Make an easy arrest, present some weak papers, and hope he pleads guilty to avoid a prolonged battle. Gabriel exhaled slowly. It's not going to happen. When they arrived at the station, Ripple pulled him out of the car and led him inside. The room smelled of sweat and bleach. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A weary-looking desk sergeant barely glanced at him before typing something into a computer. "Charges," the sergeant murmured. "Resisting, possible connection to a robbery." Ripley's voice was casual, as if this were routine. Gabriel looked him in the eyes, and for the first time, he saw him, a flash of satisfaction. Ripley was enjoying this. The sergeant sighed. Detention or search? Detention for now. Gabriel was led down a hallway lined with cells. Some men inside looked on disinterestedly. Ripley pushed him toward an open door. Cold concrete walls, a metal bench bolted to the floor, no clock, no way to tell the time. The handcuffs were finally removed, but Gabriel didn't move. "You have a call," Ripley said. "Make the most of it." Gabriel rubbed his wrists, the blood returning to his hands. Then he looked at Ripley and did something the officer didn't expect. He smiled. It wasn't for fun, nor was it for a challenge. It was because he knew something that Ripley wasn't about to dismantle him from the inside out. But first, he needed to make that call. Gabriel dialed the number with steady fingers. His mother answered on the second ring. He heard her voice thick, with exhaustion. He had just finished a shift at the hospital. "Mom, I need you to listen carefully. I'm in the Pima County Jail. They arrested me, but I didn't do anything." A sharp breath followed. "Call Mr. Hernandez. Tell him I need him here first thing in the morning." Mr. Hernandez was not just a lawyer. He was a beast in the courtroom. He was a family friend who had spent decades defending people trampled by the system. Gabriel had met him years ago at a community event, and they had talked for hours about laws, logic, and the power of words. Now that conversation was about to bear fruit. The next morning, Gabriel entered the courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, his wrists shackled in front of him. His mother was already in the front row, her dark eyes filled with anger and worry. Next to him, dressed in a sharp gray suit, was Hernandez. He barely glanced at Gabriel before directing all his attention to the prosecution's table. Ripley was sitting there, smug, flipping through his notes. This was just another open and shut case for him. Gabriel took a seat next to Hernandez. The lawyer leaned in, speaking loud enough for him to hear. "They think they have you, don't they?" Gabriel nodded. They are mistaken? Hernandez smiled smugly. Well, then let's break this down piece by piece. The judge entered. An older white man with an unreadable face adjusted his glasses, scanned the room, and cleared his throat. Let's begin. The prosecutor didn't waste any time. Your Honor, the defendant was arrested on suspicion of theft and resisting arrest. He matched the description given by a witness at the scene. Hernandez leaned back completely unperturbed. And what exactly was that description? The prosecutor hesitated. Hernandez raised an eyebrow. Go ahead, read it out loud. The prosecutor cleared his throat and read from the report. The suspect is described as a Latino man, late teenager, wearing a hoodie and carrying a backpack. Hernandez let the words hang in the air before looking at the jury. So what you're saying is that the description could have matched half of the Latino teenagers in Tucson. The prosecutor shifted in his seat. Gabriel didn't blink. They were falling directly into his hands. Ripley's jaw tightened, but he still looked confident. He still hadn't realized that he was about to be disarmed, piece by piece, but that moment was approaching. Ripley stepped up to the podium, shoulders squared, voice steady. He had done this before. He spoke like a man who believed the system was on his side. I detained the suspect because he matched the description provided by a witness at the scene, he stated with his hands neatly folded in front of him. Hernandez stood up slowly, letting the silence stretch before speaking. Officer Ripley, are you sure about that? Ripley didn't flinch. Positive. Hernandez nodded and followed the standard procedures. He recorded everything correctly. Yes. Gabriel stood still, watching, waiting. The real game was about to begin. Hernandez turned towards the judge. Your Honor, I would like to present new evidence into the record. The judge adjusted his glasses. Proceed. Hernandez took a remote control and pressed a button. A screen flickered behind him. It showed security footage from the Anita Neighborhood Public Library. The timestamp in the corner read 9:27 p.m. It showed Gabriel inside the library, leaning over a desk, explaining something to a student at the exact moment the robbery occurred miles away. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Hernandez turned. To Ripley. Officer, how could my client have committed a robbery when he was here tutoring at the same time? Ripley blinked. His confidence cracked for just a second, but Hernandez wasn't done. Now let's talk about the images from his body camera. He took a folder and lifted it. You submitted a report stating that my client resisted arrest. That means your body camera should show clear evidence of that, right? Ripley's mouth tightened. Hernandez's smile was sharp as a blade. Reproduces the images. The screen changed. Again. The body camera footage began to roll. It showed Gabriel standing still with his hands raised, speaking calmly. Then, suddenly, the video went black, a long and unnatural gap. Then it resumed with Gabriel already handcuffed, being pushed into the back seat of the patrol car. Hernandez turned to the jury, letting them see for themselves, then back to Ripley. Officer, why is there a missing segment in your footage? Ripley tensed up. Hernandez leaned in. He turned off his body camera. Officer Ripley. Silence. Hernandez took a slow step forward. Because that's a violation of police procedure, isn't it? Ripley's face darkened, but he said nothing. Hernandez let out a short, satisfied sigh. Your Honor, the defense requests that all charges be dismissed immediately. The judge stared at the screen, his expression unreadable. Then finally he spoke. Charges dismissed. The courtroom erupted. Ripley froze, his career crumbling in real time. Gabriel stood up, his wrists finally free, and looked directly at Ripley. He had told him he hadn't done anything, but this wasn't over. Not yet. Gabriel left the courthouse, the weight of the last 48 hours pressing down on his shoulders. His mother gripped his arm tightly, a mix of relief and silent fury in her eyes. But Gabriel wasn't angry. He was calculating because this wasn't just about him. The cameras were flashing, the reporters were calling his name, but Gabriel ignored them. He had something more important to do first. Hernandez walked beside him with the phone in hand, ready to file the lawsuit. Gabriel didn't hesitate. Yes, because Officer Ripley wasn't going to come out of this unscathed. Gabriel's lawsuit hit the department that afternoon. Illegal arrest, falsified report, violation of police procedure. Then the real fallout began. The images from Ripley's body camera, or what was left of them, were pulled for review. The missing segment, a deliberate manual shutdown, a cover-up, a lie. By the end of the week, Ripley was under internal investigation. By the end of the month, he was fired. Gabriel didn't celebrate. He hadn't finished because his story wasn't unique. For every Gabriel who was freed, there were dozens who weren't, so he made a decision. His future was still in aerospace, but now he had another mission. He started a scholarship fund for young Latinos who were wrongfully accused. He raised awareness about false arrests, talked about systemic bias, and slowly people listened. Not only did he win, he made sure that no one else had to fight the same battle alone. Gabriel Sanchez had always been a genius, but now he was a force that the system would never forget. Life is not just about what happens to you. It's about what you do with it. If you believe stories like this need to be told, subscribe because the fight isn't over.